Welcome to a journey inward. Tonight, we're going to explore something that exists within each of us, something hidden, something we rarely acknowledge, but something that shapes who we are every single day. Carl Jung called it the shadow self. Before you drift off tonight, let's walk together through the landscape of your own mind, discovering the parts of yourself you may have never truly seen. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. Part 1. Understanding the shadow. Imagine for a moment that you are wearing a mask, not a physical mask, but a psychological one. This mask shows the world who you want to be, the polite, acceptable, socially appropriate version of yourself. Jung called this mask the persona. But beneath this mask, there exists something else entirely. The shadow self is the unconscious part of your personality. It contains all the traits, desires, and feelings you've learned to reject, to hide, to push down into the darkness where no one can see them. These are the parts of you deemed socially unacceptable, undesirable, or conflicting with the ideal image you hold of yourself. This shadow contains what you might expect: anger, selfishness, jealousy, the impulses you've learned to suppress since childhood. But here's what makes the shadow so fascinating. It also contains positive traits you've repressed. Assertiveness you were told was aggression. Confidence you were taught was arrogance. Strength you learned to call selfishness. Jung saw the shadow as primal, emotional, instinctual, sometimes even violent. It's the part of you that civilization has taught you to cage. But here's the paradox Jung discovered. You cannot simply deny your shadow, and you cannot let it control you. The path forward is integration. Part 2. The collective unconscious. To understand the shadow fully, we need to go deeper still. Jung believed that beneath your personal unconscious, beneath your individual memories and experiences, there lies something far more ancient. He called it the collective unconscious. Imagine an ocean, vast and dark, shared by all of humanity. This isn't something you learned or developed. It was inherited, passed down through countless generations, etched into your psyche through millions of years of human evolution. Within this collective ocean swim what Jung called archetypes, universal symbols, fundamental patterns, the deepest structures of human experience. The mother, nurturing and protective; the hero, courageous and transformative; the wise old man, knowing and guiding; the trickster, chaotic and creative; and yes, the shadow, dark and hidden. These archetypes aren't just abstract concepts. They express themselves through your dreams, through the myths your culture tells, through the symbols that move you in ways you can't quite explain. They operate beneath your awareness, quietly shaping how you feel, how you think, how you understand your place in the world. The shadow, you see, isn't just your shadow. It's connected to something universal, something that has existed in the human psyche since the beginning. Part 3. The shadow among the archetypes. Among all the archetypes, the shadow holds a unique position. While the persona shows the face you present to the world, while the hero represents the journey you're on, the shadow represents everything you've left behind, everything you've refused to bring along. But here's what Jung understood. The shadow isn't separate from the other archetypes. It's woven into all of them. Your hero has a shadow. Your mother has a shadow. Even your wise old man has a shadow. Integration of the shadow means recognizing this hidden dimension in every part of yourself. It means seeing that the parts you've rejected are still parts of you, still influencing you, still demanding to be seen. When you ignore the shadow, it doesn't disappear. It grows stronger in the darkness. But when you turn toward it, when you acknowledge it, something remarkable happens. You become whole. Part 4. Jung versus Freud. Jung wasn't the first to explore the dark side of personality. His mentor, Sigmund Freud, had already mapped the territory. But they saw it differently. Freud spoke of the id, that primitive, instinctual part of you driven by base desires, sex, aggression, pleasure-seeking impulses that civilization must repress. For Freud, these dark forces were fundamentally negative, disruptive. They had to be contained by the ego and policed by the superego. Jung saw something more nuanced. Yes, the shadow contains primal instincts, but it also contains potential, creativity, vitality, aspects of yourself that aren't evil, just unintegrated. Freud's unconscious was personal and biological, a pressure cooker of individual desires. Jung's unconscious was both personal and collective, connected to universal patterns, part of a broader spiritual and psychological landscape. For Freud, repression was necessary. For Jung, integration was essential. Freud saw a mechanism to be managed. Jung saw a moral challenge to be embraced, a path towards self-knowledge and growth. Where Freud asked, "How do we control our dark impulses?" Jung asked, "How do we become whole by accepting them?" Part 5. The Path of Integration. So how do you integrate your shadow? Jung's answer is both simple and profound. It requires courage, patience, and above all, honesty. First, accept that the shadow exists. Stop pretending you're only the bright, acceptable parts. Acknowledge that you contain multitudes, including aspects you've denied. Second, pay attention. Watch your moods. Notice your fantasies. Observe the impulses that arise and disappear. These are messages from the shadow, trying to communicate. Third, explore consciously. Journal about the parts of yourself you hide. Meditate on your reactions. Analyze your dreams. Those strange, symbolic messages from your unconscious. Jung particularly valued active imagination, a technique where you engage creatively with the images and symbols that emerge from within. Have a dialogue with your shadow. Ask it what it wants. Listen to what it tells you. Fourth, negotiate. Integration isn't about eradicating the shadow. It's about bringing it into conversation with your conscious self. It's about finding a relationship between light and dark. Fifth, take action. Bring what you've discovered into your life. If you've suppressed creativity, create. If you've hidden your anger, express boundaries. If you've denied your needs, honor them. Sixth, let go of illusions. Drop the fantasy of being purely good. Release the childish notion that you're supposed to be perfect. Embrace your complexity. Finally, adjust your attitude. Expand your sense of what's acceptable within yourself. Make room for the full spectrum of human experience. This isn't a quick process. Jung called it the work of a lifetime. But with each step, you become more real, more whole, more you. Part 6. Shadow work in daily life. You don't need to retreat to a monastery to do shadow work. It happens in the mundane moments of everyday life. Notice when someone irritates you disproportionately. That loud, arrogant person. Could they be showing you your own suppressed confidence? That selfish friend. Might they be reflecting your own unacknowledged needs? What you strongly criticize in others often lives unexamined in yourself. This is called projection, and it's one of the shadow's favorite tricks. Try this. Keep a journal. Write down qualities you admire and qualities you despise in yourself and others. Look for patterns. The traits you can't stand, those might be your shadow speaking. Or this. When you feel triggered, pause. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this so intensely? What part of me is being activated right now? Practice mindfulness. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts without judgment. Watch the impulses that arise, the desires you usually push away. Just observe them. Let them be. The goal isn't to act on every impulse. It's to become aware of them, to see them clearly, to integrate them consciously rather than letting them control you unconsciously. Part 7. The shadow in modern life. Look around at the modern world and you'll see the shadow everywhere. Those internet comments full of rage, often shadow material projected onto strangers. The political opponent you can't understand, perhaps carrying qualities you've exiled from your own psyche. Your own self-sabotage, starting projects you never finish, relationships you unconsciously destroy. These can be the shadow's work, operating beneath your awareness. Compulsive behaviors, passive aggression, sudden emotional outbursts, recurring dreams that disturb you. All of these can be the shadow trying to get your attention. The shadow also appears in what you don't do, the risks you don't take, the words you don't say, the life you don't live, because some part of you has been locked away in the darkness. But remember this, the shadow isn't only darkness. Within it also lie dormant strengths, creative energies waiting to be released, aspects of yourself that could bring vitality and meaning to your life if only you would acknowledge them. Part 8. The gifts of integration. What happens when you finally face your shadow? When you stop running, stop pretending, stop projecting, and instead turn inward with honest eyes? You become authentic. No more exhausting performance, no more carefully maintained facade. You can be yourself, all of yourself, because you know and accept who that is. You find peace. The war within you, between who you are and who you think you should be, begins to end. Inner conflict dissolves into integration. You become whole, not perfect, not purely good, but complete, human in the fullest sense, containing light and shadow, strength and weakness, nobility and baseness, all acknowledged, all integrated. Your relationships transform. When you stop projecting your shadow onto others, you can see them clearly, love them fully, relate to them honestly. Deep, meaningful connection becomes possible. You discover hidden potential, the creative energy locked in your shadow, the suppressed talents, the denied strengths, all become available to you. You find your purpose. By integrating all aspects of yourself, including your struggles and your darkness, you discover what makes you uniquely you, and in that discovery, meaning emerges. Jung believed this process, this journey toward wholeness, was the central task of human life. He called it individuation. You become a complete individual. You do this by embracing all parts of yourself. Part 9. The shadow in modern science. Jung developed his theories over a century ago, working with little more than observation and intuition. But what does modern science tell us about the shadow? The answer might surprise you. Today's most cutting-edge research in psychology and neuroscience is confirming what Jung discovered through careful observation of the human psyche. Transpersonal psychology, the study of experiences beyond the ordinary self, has embraced the shadow as a fundamental framework for understanding the deeper layers of consciousness. At Johns Hopkins Medical School, researchers in the psychedelics lab are witnessing something remarkable. When patients undergo psychedelic-assisted therapy, they often encounter their shadow directly. The parts of themselves they've hidden, denied, rejected, suddenly appear in vivid clarity. And when they face these shadow elements, when they integrate them rather than flee from them, profound healing occurs. Trauma dissolves, depression lifts, the psyche reorganizes itself around wholeness rather than fragmentation. Even research into unusual experiences, like hearing voices, reveals the shadow at work. Scientists are discovering that these voices often represent shadow aspects, rejected parts of the self trying to communicate. When people learn to recognize these experiences as projections of their own shadow material, something shifts. Instead of fear, there's understanding. Instead of isolation, there's self-compassion. Dream research continues to validate Jung's insights. When dreamers consciously encounter shadow figures in their dreams, when they engage with these dark characters rather than running from them, psychological growth accelerates. The shadow isn't just a metaphor, it's a living reality of your psyche, now being mapped by modern science. Part 10. The shadow in therapy today. Walk into a therapist's office today, and you might be surprised how often Jung's shadow comes up. Not always by name, but the work remains the same. Modern therapists call it shadow work or shadow integration. The goal hasn't changed since Jung's time. Bring the unconscious into consciousness. Make the darkness visible. Integrate what has been split off. How do therapists help you meet your shadow today? They might analyze your dreams, looking for recurring figures and themes. That angry person who keeps appearing? That might be your own suppressed anger asking to be acknowledged. They might have you journal, letting your pen move without censorship, watching what emerges when your conscious guard drops. Some use sand tray therapy, where you create scenes with miniature figures. Without realizing it, you often place your shadow right there in the sand, visible at last. Others guide you through active imagination, Jung's own technique, where you dialogue directly with shadow figures that arise from your unconscious. The results speak for themselves. People discover self-acceptance they never thought possible. Old wounds heal. Relationships transform as projections are withdrawn. Creativity flows as shadow energy is reclaimed. Therapists report seeing clients confront not just personal shadows, but collective ones too. The prejudices we inherit, the traumas passed down through generations, all asking to be seen, acknowledged, integrated. Despite limited formal research, the anecdotal evidence is overwhelming. Shadow work transforms lives. It's not just theory, it's practical, applicable, and profoundly effective.
Art 11.
The neuroscience of the shadow. What happens in your brain when you repress parts of yourself? Modern neuroscience has answers Jung could only dream of. When scientists place people in fMRI machines and ask them to suppress unwanted memories or feelings, they can watch the shadow being created in real time. Your prefrontal cortex, the executive control center of your brain, actively suppresses activity in the hippocampus, where memories are stored. It's like your brain has a bouncer refusing entry to certain memories and experiences. This isn't passive forgetting. This is active repression. Your brain is working hard to keep certain things out of consciousness. But here's the fascinating part. Even when memories and feelings are successfully repressed, they continue to influence your behavior. They affect your decisions, your reactions, your emotions, all from beneath the threshold of awareness. Jung intuited this without any brain scans. He understood that repressed content doesn't disappear. It goes underground, into what he called the personal unconscious, where it becomes shadow material. For Jung, the unconscious wasn't just a storage bin for forgotten memories. It was a dynamic, living system, a source of energy and creativity, a realm of archetypes and patterns that shape who we are. Modern neuroscience confirms the mechanism. Jung provided the meaning. Your brain actively creates your shadow through neural suppression. But that shadow isn't just repressed memory. It's living psychic energy demanding integration.
Part 12.
The science of projection. How do we measure something as elusive as projection? How do we quantify the shadow's influence on our perceptions? Researchers have tried, and the results are revealing. In one study with 131 high school students, scientists used what they called shadow projections, visual stimuli designed to evoke unconscious content. The emotional responses were profound and measurable. The data showed something fascinating. Different people had dramatically different emotional reactions to the same stimuli. Women showed significantly higher emotional responses than men. The statistical significance was undeniable. What does this mean? It suggests that what we see isn't just what's there. We see through the lens of our shadow. Our repressed content shapes our perception, colors our emotional responses, determines what triggers us and what leaves us cold. Jung understood this intuitively. Projection, he said, is how the ego avoids confronting its own unacceptable aspects. Instead of seeing them within, we see them without, in others, in situations, in the world around us. This isn't just a psychological defense, it's how we create our reality. Every strong emotional reaction you have to someone else might be showing you something about your own shadow. Every judgment you make might be revealing what you've rejected in yourself. The research confirms it. When shadow content is activated, our emotional responses spike. We're not just responding to what's in front of us, we're responding to what's within us, projected outward. Recognizing your projections, reclaiming them, is essential for growth. It's how you stop seeing your shadow in everyone else and start seeing it where it truly lives, within you. Pause.
As you prepare for sleep tonight,
Let everything we've explored settle into your consciousness. The shadow self isn't some abstract theory, it lives within you right now, in this very moment. Jung discovered all of this by looking within. He faced his own darkness, his own rejected parts, and in doing so, he mapped a territory that exists in all of us. The shadow is you, calling yourself home. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you might sense it, that part of you waiting in the darkness, not to harm you, but to complete you. It holds your suppressed anger, yes, but also your untapped strength. It contains your hidden fears, but also your deepest courage. The journey toward wholeness doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. It asks that you become fully yourself. Every part of you has value, even the parts you've learned to hate, especially the parts you've learned to hide. This journey is available to you. It starts with a single moment of awareness. Perhaps tonight, in the quiet darkness, you can whisper to your shadow, "I see you. You are part of me." And perhaps your shadow will whisper back, "I've been waiting for you." The darkness you fear isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. Your shadow isn't your weakness. It's your hidden strength, waiting to be reclaimed. Carl Jung gave us a map, but the journey is yours to take. As you close your eyes now, remember this. You are more than your light. You are more than your darkness. You are the full spectrum of human experience. The shadow you've been running from is the missing piece of yourself you've been searching for. Your shadow isn't something to overcome, it's something to embrace. And in that integration, you become who you've always been, whole, complete, truly, authentically you. Thank you for taking this journey into the depths tonight. May your dreams be gateways to self-discovery, and may you wake tomorrow one step closer to the wholeness that is your birthright. All of you belongs here. All of you is welcome. All of you is loved. Good night.